Okay, guys, cool. So thank you again for your time today. So my name is Zing Zai, and I'm a solutions engineer, solutions architect here at DocuSign. And today I'll be speaking about how we transform your agreements with DocuSign API. Okay, before I start, right, show of hands, anyone, or how many of you here heard about DocuSign before? Okay, thank you. Yeah, how many of you have used DocuSign before? Okay, so a number of you guys, especially those from DocuSign. Okay, but today, I think DocuSign is a very household name, especially when it comes to signing of agreements. But today, I really want to focus on like what it means to transform your agreements with DocuSign. Okay. So this is the agenda. Very quick overview. Introduce you to some integration methods, custom integrations, which I think for the audience here, if you're developers, then I think you'll be very interested in the custom API integration and SDKs. And for those who are not developers, I think you definitely can learn something here as well. Okay. Okay, cool. So I'll start off with an overview of what DocuSign is. So for DocuSign, before even jumping into DocuSign, let's talk about the typical agreement process, right? So over in a typical agreement process, we usually start off with an agreement, right? We commonly need to generate an agreement. Very manual, it's a very manual process. After that, we probably need to verify who the signer is, find out who the signers are, and then we send it out to our counterparties for negotiation, get them to review via email or whether it's manual, for example, going down to the post office and then mailing it out, right? I'm pretty sure many of you have this experience. Then after negotiating back and forth with different counterparties, then we get it signed, which is you can see in the middle box over here. After signing, also a very manual process of bouncing back and forth if there's many recipients along the way, right? Sending it out. Then we finally have to secure it in a centralized repository. And typically, it's very, very manual in today's world, right? We have to store it in some file archive somewhere, cabinets, and then maybe in future your boss asks you to find it, it's gonna be an issue. So DocuSign really comes in to solve this problem. And today, I will just focus solely on the signature piece. Okay. Later on, if you guys are interested, we can also deep dive into the rest of the entire process. Okay. So I'd like to start off with a very fun video. It's a 1-minute video, so a very quick one to really touch on the pain point of some of the experiences that our customers have. And for this video, it's Love Bonito co-founder.
I'm ready. I was frantic. We were in a rush to get this important document signed, and just when I thought it was done, disaster. We had this massive contract that had just been put together, and my team was checking it over, marking all the places I had to sign. So you know those sticky notes they put on contracts? Well, most of them didn't stick, and they fell out before the documents made it to my desk. So the documents were sent away, missing signatures. And then we had to go through it all over again. The printing, the sticky notes, the signing. Anyway, second time lucky, right? Wrong. In the rush to get the paper sent away again, coffee is spilled all over them. My philosophy is fail fast, learn fast. Pick yourself up, process what's happened, reflect, learn from it, and go again. And that's why we now use DocuSign. I guess you could say technology is a lot like fashion. When it's simple and functional, you know you're on to a good thing. Next time, DocuSign.
I don't know how many of you can relate to this, like especially when I need to go and print out the document. So my story is like just a couple of weeks back, I needed to apply for some gyro application. So I needed to print out the document, fill it in, and then send it to some government body, I will not specify who. And then they bounced back, and then they told me that the signature is unverified. They can't verify the signature with my bank. So I needed to do the entire process again, and then I finally called my bank and realized that, oh, actually I signed up for my bank account digitally, so they didn't have my physical signature in their records. So what I needed to do is take one day off, go down to the bank, and then go and sign signature, then finally redo the entire process again. So it took a very, very long process just to get an application done. I'm pretty sure like many of you here can resonate, right? Whenever just getting it printed and going down to the post office is really, really troublesome already. So DocuSign really solves this problem for you. The next slide. Okay, so for today's terminology, I'll just touch on it very quickly. So for today, typically we have many documents. So you can see on the left, many different documents, and then what we will do is that we will put it into an envelope, a physical envelope. And then I will write down who and where I want to send it to, right? And then I will make my way down to the post office and then get it sent out. After getting it sent out, then wait for it to bounce back, and then I redo it and send it out to the next recipient, so long and so forth. As you can see, it's very time-consuming and very painful. So in DocuSign world, we also make use of the same terminology, right? So by making use of that physical reference or today's reference of a physical world, actually it works the same way. So in DocuSign, you can see that we have documents, we have recipients, and tabs. I'll touch on it later. And you can see over here is that we will put the documents and the recipients into an envelope, and then we will make use of DocuSign to send it out. Right? So this is how we think about DocuSign. Okay, if you will see the tabs over here, it's pretty much the fields. So these tabs are extremely important. It doesn't apply today because we are making use of sticky notes. We usually put, okay, recipient A, blue color, where do I sign? Recipient B, maybe purple, where do I sign? In DocuSign, you can think of it that way, right? We are just putting the fields or the tabs, the documents in specific areas so that my recipient will sign at the correct place. Yeah. By the way, the sticky note won't like jump around and then fall out, that kind of thing. Okay? So this is one additional benefit which you will see later on in my demo where I talk about like recipients and the fields. So in DocuSign, we also have something called templates. So templates are pre-built workflows to help streamline this entire sending process. So what this means, right, you can think of it like typically I need to always make use of the same document, pretty much the same recipient for sending out an NDA, for example. It's always the client and then CC my lawyer, right, and then getting it sent out. So templates are pretty much help me to very quickly, one click of a button, and then send that envelope out, right? Okay, so with that common understanding across the room, now we can move on to the more complex stuff. Okay, I wouldn't say complex, it's pretty simple. But yeah, more tech stuff. It's API days, right? Okay, so next I'll touch on integration methods. In DocuSign, there are primarily two ways in which we can do up integrations. The first one is pre-built integration, and DocuSign is great at it, right? We have many plugins, such as the lightweight ones, for example, Microsoft Outlook, Microsoft Word. We also integrate into Slack and different CRM systems like Salesforce and many other SuccessFactors and SAP products. Connectors are same thing, right? We have more than 400 of them that is already on our store where many of the clients can leverage on, and then very easily off the box install, they can use it. The other one, which is the focus today, is custom integration, right? So in DocuSign, under the custom integration box, you can see APIs and SDK, software development kits, whereby we are able to control and embed all these different kinds of agreements of DocuSign into the apps of our clients. So later on, I will touch a bit more in terms of how envelopes are being sent, how they are being embedded into the different apps. On the last pillar, it's event listener. So event listener are typically used to connect up and trigger some of the downstream flows. For example, if after certain user or certain signer has signed the document on an envelope, maybe trigger payroll, right? I don't need to manually go and talk to payroll and then go and tell them to go and trigger that process. I always can make use of these event listeners to help me streamline this entire and automate my workflow. Okay. Okay, so DocuSign API. So of course, we help to bring DocuSign into your app with embedded signing. So really creating this consistent and seamless experience across the entire application itself. So integration, of course, we can have a look into the many support and resources in our developer center. Today, because I'm here, everyone will be able to see a live demo later on. Okay, so very quickly, I'll touch on direct API access and SDKs. So within your app at the top, right, you can connect into the DocuSign e-signature API via two primary methods. One is direct API access, and another one is making use of our SDKs. So the SDKs can see there's one entire suite of them: C#, Java, Node.js, PHP, and many other commonly used. So the one later I'll be showing is Node.js. So for those developers out there, be assured, Node.js also works. Okay, cool. So now I'll give the demo. Okay. So for the demo, I will be making use of something that can be found online. It is called the Quick Start Program Generator. So what this is click of a button, you will download the entire package from our developer center. You can just install the packages, run it, and then it will pretty much give you a boilerplate of whatever you can do with it. Again, just to touch on it, Node.js SDK, I'll make use of Visual Studio. I will show you the code running on the background, because that one, probably the developers will be interested, right, only. So I will make it more neutral over here. For the code samples, there are many, but today I will be only touching on the request signature via email, as well as embedded signing. Okay, so what does these two mean, and why did I even pick them? So for the demo, I'll be touching on the two demo scenarios. One is remote signing. So typically, for those who have used DocuSign before, you will receive a DocuSign email, something like that. Then you will click on the review document button. It opens up the envelope and the document, and then you will sign. So I will show you this first way of signing. It's signing via the link in the email. The second one is embedded signing. So many organizations today make use of embedded signing to sign within your app itself. So over here you can see, right, this is a typical website of a financial organization, a fictitious one. And then we embed the signing ceremony inside your app, right, making this a very seamless experience for the signer. The signer don't even need to straddle between their email and the custom app that was developed by the organization. Okay, so I'll be going through these two scenarios. Okay, cool. So for the first scenario is remote signing. So over here, I will send an envelope with a remote signer, right? And then I will CC a recipient. So if you were to download our quick start guide and then run it, you can see I'm running it localhost over here, all right? And then I just put in who are the signers, my signer email, and the signer name. Then the second recipient, who is my lawyer or whoever else who is in the CC, I just put in her name, Lily, and then I will just click on submit. Oops, sorry, I need to switch put it in the wrong box. Okay, here, Lee. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, and then just click on submit. Okay, and then this envelope will be sent out. Okay, cool. So after this envelope is sent out, within a couple seconds, Randy, who is the signer, should receive an email over here, right? You can see it's very instant. You can see the email just came in 0 minutes ago, so this is a live demo. Not trying to fake anyone here. And the great thing about signing is the recipient do not need to have a DocuSign account, right? For those who have used DocuSign, you can see how seamless this entire experience is. So of course, if I want to go and customize or go and configure into a certain brand, I can go and change the logo, change the color scheme, so on and so forth, and even give specific instructions to my signer. Click on review. It opens up this secured signing link, and then I can just review the document, right? Earlier, I touched on tabs, right? Tabs, fields for the signers to input where they need to sign. Of course, I can collect different information such as leveraging on text box, drop downs, and different things to collect. Over here, I'll just show you signing. So again, you can see that there's a required field. If I click on finish, I cannot proceed. There are required fields that needs to be completed before I can move on. So I always like to bring my customers and remind them back to today, right? Today, if my signer receives this email, an envelope, signs at the wrong place, that's one, or forget to sign where exactly he's supposed to, basically I need to redo this entire process. So this is one great benefit that DocuSign always makes sure that you sign at the correct place with all the fields completed. Sign. So in DocuSign, after you click on sign, this is where you need to adopt your signature. And in DocuSign, there are 3 ways in which you're able to do so. One, you can select a style. So Randy, you can draw, or you can, more traditional way is you can upload your signature. So many of the times, the customers will ask me, is this valid? Is this legal? In DocuSign, it's all about the consent and intent of signing. So this means that when a signer clicks on this adopt and sign button over here, he is agreeing that this signature and initials will be the electronic representation of his own physical signature, hence making this entire document legally binding. Okay? So adopt and sign, the signature will be applied. You can see there are other areas for me to sign as well. Right? Click on them. All the signatures have been applied, and then I can click on finish to complete this entire signing process, right? Very simple, very easy. Okay, so once it's completed, the signer will receive an email letting him know or giving him a notification on that the document has been completed. If he wants to, he can just view the completed document over here with his signatures applied, right? Earlier, I've also sent to Lily, but the way I want to show you is not via her mailbox. I want to show you via something called our certificate of completion. So this certificate of completion is an audit trail of the entire transaction that has just happened. Who the signers are, right? Randy, his email, then his signature, the timestamp of when he signed, the date and time, as well as the IP address as well. All have been recorded for you. Then the carbon copy events for Lily as well. Everything has been recorded for you automatically, right? When you want to retrieve this envelope, all the information will be there for you. Okay. Again, this COC, Certificate of Completion, has a tempered evidence seal. This means that no one is allowed to go and modify the over there. If someone tries to attempt to go and edit, this seal will pretty much be broken. So letting whoever that is verifying know that, okay, someone has tampered it with it before. So this is how we really ensure there's no breach. Okay. Okay. Any questions? regarding this? Okay, sure. Yeah, so what I'm showing here, it still cannot apply to the transactions or the different forms for the banks, right? Until the bank is on board with DocuSign fully for the different kind of agreements, then we can talk about how do we verify, or how do we even, is it possible that we don't even need to verify, right? All we need to do is gyro, for example, the gyro application, submit, then link it up, okay, that's done. It's pretty much, for example, I can even link up with SingPass to really authenticate you, right? Why do I even need to verify in the first place, right? We probably want to challenge that instead of doing it status quo, still verifying, yeah. Mm. Yeah, great question. So over here in DocuSign, the one that I've shown you is a one signer. If I want to send it to multiple signers, sure, no problem. So for example, I send it over to you, and then I send it over to your colleague. I can do it in a sequential manner. After you sign, pass it to your colleague. I also can do it in a parallel form as well. Parallel meaning both of you will receive the envelope at the same time, and whoever open it up first, then you can sign, and then whenever your other colleague is free, then he can sign. So both of you will receive it at the same time. It really depends on what kind of workflow you want to build into this entire template or envelope, right? In DocuSign, it's very, very configurable. Okay, thank you for your question. Okay, cool. So, any questions? More questions? Okay. If you have more questions, feel free to ask me later. I will move on. Okay, so the next demo that I wanted to show is embedded signing. So embedded signing will require some custom development, but over here in embedded signing, what I will do is I will hop over back into my homepage. So this, after downloading the quick start guide and running it locally, this is what you'll see with all the examples that's provided to you so that developers can reference. This was the one that I chose earlier, which is remote signing. And this one is the second one, embedded signing, is what I will do now. And I will request a signature through my app. So one click of a button, I put in who the signer emails are. This is not exactly important, but it is important as part of the certificate of completion only, right? When I click on submit, what I should see is either I can have different ways of doing it. Making use of redirects, which is what is happening here, redirect to a signing ceremony, right? So just to iterate, right? Or just to reiterate that point on, you can see that the signer did not need to straddle between his email box and his DocuSign. All he has to do is come into your app, okay, click one button, okay, this is what he'll see next. Right, I didn't need to go and hop over to another platform or email. Click on signing, because I'm already a signer before, the signature is applied for me. If I want to change, of course I can. And finish, and this entire signing ceremony is done. So the benefits of embedded signing is really powerful because as a signer, it really brings this user friendliness to the next level, right? I didn't need to hop around different apps. Okay, so this is pretty much the two scenarios. If we want to explore more, you can see over here in our quick start guide, we can also send a signature via SMS delivery. So this means that instead of, say, email, I can immediately send that link over to your mobile number, and then you receive that link, you click on it, you can sign on the go, right? So many other different examples and different kinds of integration. If we want to deep dive, we can. Okay, cool. Everyone enjoyed the demo? Okay. Okay, cool. So for the benefit of the developers over here, I always like to show this frame because it keeps me very sane of where exactly I sit. So I'll just take like probably 30 seconds to a minute to quickly go through this for the benefit of them. Okay, so in the middle, it's DocuSign, the document lifecycle. And I always think of it as upstream and downstream processes. Upstream is where we collect the data, we generate the document, and we determine who needs to sign. After that, we pass it into our client's app. This client app will call the API of DocuSign to trigger the entire signing ceremony. And this was what happened earlier in my demo, right? We trigger it, and then we authenticate the signers. So there are many ways in which we are able to authenticate the signers. Earlier, I've authenticated the signer via email address. So first of all, actually, as a signer, I need to have access to my email box. Without it, how do I even sign? Another way is that I can add additional layers. For example, something called access code. Access code, pretty much can think of codes. And typically, I've seen some of my clients put in, say, date of birth of the recipient, of the signer, as a second-level authentication, second-level factor kind of way to authenticate the signer. Even SingPass signing as well, to authenticate the signer, we are able to do so. Then we capture the signature, we generate the certificate of completion, we make use of DocuSign Connect, which is the event listener, which I spoke about. In DocuSign, we just call it DocuSign Connect. And then it will pretty much listen to any triggers or any events that's happening to the envelope. Right? Whenever it happens, okay, go and do something. So on the downstream process, say I want to update my data, I want to store the envelope into AWS or some cloud storage provider, I'm able to, and maybe even call a business process, which I've briefly talked about earlier, like trigger payment, trigger procurement workflow, trigger HR, send out package, something like that. Pretty much, you can see with a simple integration like that, we can eliminate a lot of manual work, right? The recruiter don't have to manually go and do something. HR don't have to manually do something. Oh my God, yeah. So no more of those work required anymore. Okay. So next part is DocuSign has a very high performance architecture, up to a 99.99% uptime. So this pretty much means like less than 5 minutes of downtime every month. 4.5K HTTP requests every second, more than 100 seconds of gigabit per second network bandwidth, more than 1.5 million transactions per day. Okay, and of course, we have many developer tools out there for the developers here, right? Earlier, I've made use of the quick start guides. We have developer tools such as Postman, collections, free sandbox for you to test, many of the sample app libraries, and we even have like developer webinars available that we run very frequently on a quarterly basis. So you can sign up for them, and then we have API experts to be there and guide you pretty much on your entire integration journey with DocuSign. Okay, so that's pretty much what I want to cover today. Let me do a time check. Okay. Any questions? Yeah, good question. So the way to think about the analytics piece, I always think of it like we deal with agreements, right? Contracts. So whenever a contract comes in, say a third-party one, typically the use case would be, okay, how do I analyze this contract and highlight the risky clauses, right? I don't want my lawyer to go through a 70-page contract manually if I can. But over here, we try to help. So how we do it is we make use of AI to extract important clauses. For example, the payment terms, the governing law. What else do we extract? Who are the parties that we work with? After extracting, we are able to collect all this information and conditionally route it to say, okay, say the contract value is above 1 million. Now I route it to my lawyer to verify and check, right? So in that realm, we handle the analytics in that manner. Yeah. So hope I answered your question. Yes. Yeah. Typically, we haven't had that use case before. Yeah, it's usually coming in as the contract itself, because the COC usually acts as a supporting evidence kind of thing to, if say court requires, then I show the certificate of completion. And typically for that is already in the signing. The thing or the contract has already been analyzed before, definitely multiple times, because you're signing something important, right? Yeah, so in that case, I haven't had that use case before, but yeah, so that's my quick response to that. Yeah, hi. Yeah, so actually the document that I shown you earlier, even though it's digital, we can also upload a physical document onto DocuSign, and then we place the fields there, right? And actually, the companies that I work with, especially in SMB, whereby they a small medium business, where they still haven't had the resource to go and transform all of their agreements, you can just simply upload the contract, put where exactly the fields are for the different recipients, and then just send it out. So the senders can do it for themselves. Yeah, correct. Yeah, thank you. Okay, great. I hope everyone learned something today. If you guys want to link up with me on LinkedIn, this is my LinkedIn. Yeah, thank you for your time again.